All right, everyone. Welcome to Kayla's Cuts Deep. Tonight I'm taking over this channel here because we had some technical difficulties and things happen, but the show must go on. I got an interview to hold, and I'm here to talk to Peter and Mark about Designated Issue 1, their Kickstarter, and more. So let's start off. All right. Who wants to talk first about just some of their experience or what it is that they do?
Well, I will start. I'm Mark Torres, host of It Came From Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. I've been doing a radio show for almost 20 years. This comic book is a passion project of mine that I've been trying to get done for the past almost 30 years. I've known Pete for almost 20 years as it is. And Pete, why don't you introduce yourself on your own channel, being interviewed by someone else on your own channel?
I just take over. It's what I do. It's just literally what I do. What can I say? It's a woman thing, I guess.
Who am I? I am Peter Palmiotti. 30 years in the business. Worked for Smallwood, DC. Valiant. Had a few books published by Image, but mostly I've been working on independent comics throughout the years. I'm working on my own book called Retro that will be published later this year.
And then you two have known each other for 20 years. How'd you guys meet? Was that at a con or?
Yep.
Pete, you wanna tell the story?
I need to know the story. I don't know the story, and someone else might not know the story. And this is probably
I was walking down a dark alley in New York, and no. I
was gonna say, did he hate you? Dark alley in New York. Nothing good can happen there. But no, go on.
A small New York convention back in the day, and he was telling me about his book and showed off some of the artwork from it, and I was like, that looks really good. I'd love to be a part of it. And he gave me a script, and I took it home and read it, and was really impressed with the writing. So I became a part of the project way back when.
30 years ago. So this is something that you've been working on for 30 years?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the hardest part of the work, the getting it done from my end was 20 years ago around that time. I started about 30 years ago. But then when the pencils were done, which was, I'd say, a couple of years after that, I got a friend of mine from high school. His brother was like, I'll try to draw it. So I wrote the whole story out back then. He drew it back then. I met Pete a couple of years later. So now we're about 20 years ago. Pete started inking it back then. And then we're like, all right, let's get it done. And then crap happens up and down, and we get close, and we can't get close. We can't go close. We get close. We can't get close. And then finally, here we are in 2022, as close as we've ever been to getting this finally out there.
Oh, my goodness. So what took you so long? Was it a turnover between artists? Was it just you being hard on yourself with the writing? What was it?
Well, once the story was written, it was written. Once it was penciled, it was penciled. Once Pete was doing the inks, it was inked. The problem is, so back then I was under the impression when I went to the New York Academy of Fantasy Arts and Illustration that all you needed was about $2,000 of 90s money to make a comic book. And I thought, I can make $2,000, but then I forgot, you have to live. So it was apparently harder to make $2,000 to make a comic book back then than it is nowadays. And then I'm not a publisher. I was a writer. So I had to try to find a publisher, how to get the financing. My mother died. People dropped out. People jumped in. You meet publishers who say that they are publishers, but they really aren't publishers. You meet people who are like, yeah, we can get this done. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. You think it's going to work out. It doesn't work out. You have to go back to the drawing board. So it's been sitting with me. So the creation process was already done. It's just been sitting trying to get it out over all these years. So once my mother died, she died in the year 2000. That really messed me up for a lot of years. So you just have to kind of struggle and get out of that hole. Mm-hmm. And then all these other ups and downs of the whole comic book industry, of meeting people, not having the finances, meeting people who you think have finances, don't have finances, meeting people who say they have finances and don't have finances. All this stuff led us to this point in time. So it really was just, think of it like trying to get a movie made. You have the movie, you have the script, you have all the people who are attached to the project, but you need that financing to get it done. And it's just, you just have to knock on the right door. And sometimes that doesn't happen.
No, I appreciate all of the honesty that you just shared about that, because I think that is a side of crowdfunding that a lot of people don't talk about, and just about during the whole creative process, and just about making a comic book in general, or anything in life in general, because anything can happen at any time. And although we may believe that we are prepared at the moment for something, things come up, things happen. So I love that you never gave up on it, though. Like, you knew that it was something that you had to do.
Yeah.
I've been saying this a couple of times in a lot of streams we've been doing. I was at a convention about 2 weeks ago, the Eternal Con. I was overhearing a conversation with an artist, and she was talking to somebody else, and she said, the one thing about comic book creators or artists in general is that they only have one thing in common. Whether they're good artists, whether they're bad artists, the business-wise, all that stuff, they have one thing, and that thing is the need to create. So I've had the need to create, to make this story, and once life hit me hard, it made me step back and like, you know what? I really want to get this done, because you only have one life. And if you get to a point where it's not going to happen, you give your whole life, and then you have that regret. And do I want that regret? I do not want that regret. I want to get it out there as hard as I can. So you just got to keep on doing it. What's the thing? You're going to keep on doing it or die trying. That's the mentality. Yeah. I just have to get it out there. And we're so close. That's the thing. It's not like you need $100 and you have 50 cents. It's, you need $100, you have $85, and then next day you have $75, next day you have $90. We're always like right around it. So it's teasing you that it can be done. You just have to work a little harder. It's not like it's so far away. Like, I'm not going to get to Mars. Like, that's not a thing, but can I get this done? I'm right, getting closer every little bit. Sure, one step forward, two steps back, but eventually I'm just getting there. And right now I feel that we're the closest that we've ever been to getting this made.
Yeah.
You're all about perseverance and just like overcoming everything. Your ambition is just like, like in a good way, because you're just so determined to get it done. I'm the same way though. I'm like the same exact way. I have to do it whether or not I fail, or I just have to get some things out of my system, or I'm not going to be happy. That's just how it is. And that's what it seems like for you. This is something that you need to do, or you're not going to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You have a lot of friends who do the 9 to 5s. You have a lot of friends, and at a certain age, you sit there and you think, that's it. That's all. That's, you work in the office, and then that's it. You're just going to keep on working to the office till it's time to retire, and then you die. Like, that's it. I don't want that to be it. I want to keep it going. I want to go out there. I want to create. I want to make. And I think that's true for all artists. Would you say the same thing, Pete?
Yeah, it's like in my youth, in my 20s, I really had nothing I wanted other than just go out and have a good time, and that's what I did in my 20s. Yeah. It wasn't until I was 28 when I made the decision to do comics for a living. Like, I had a day job. It's like I worked to the next Friday to get that paycheck to then go have fun. But once I made the decision to do comics for a living, it hasn't been easy all the time. For the most part, it's not easy. But I love it. I get so much out of it. And of course, there's the community of people that surround me that are so good. Mark being one of them, you being one of them. It really takes dedication, and I got so many projects, I'm currently working on that have been in the mix for a long time. And, some projects happen right away because the person or people involved have like an endless supply of money, or have like endless supply of resources, or whatever. Like, you know, it's hit or miss. Like, you never know until you know. But if you believe in these products, you stick with them and you see them through, because otherwise, why are you wasting your time?
You know what, too? It goes to show, like, what is life without passion? Like, once you have a passion for something, what is
Yeah,
your life without it? Do you really want to be in the same cycle of doing things? And no one really wants to get like that. Life gets too mundane and then it's not exciting. And then you can't exercise that creative life force within your brain, you know? So
absolutely.
30 years, right? So that means that you've seen 30 years of the comic industry change.
Yes, I have. It's so wild how one of the things we were talking about is just making of comics now is a lot of times it's digital. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
did it paper and pencil, inks on paper and pencil. That's how it's made, and then digital coloring, and then distribution and crowdfunding, all that stuff. It's so weird how things were back then. Like I said, when I was in the school, it was if you had $2,000, you had to go to the printer and make your own comic, and then how are you going to distribute it? There was only one distributor, it was Diamond. You had to go to Diamond, or you had
Oh,
to go to the
Diamond's
comic
still
store.
like the main distributor now
Yeah.
for shops, at least for shops.
But even still, Marvel has their own. They're going on the Penguin Random House or whatever they're
So
doing.
here's the deal with that. As someone that worked in a shop, I've spent 12 years working in a shop, and then so anyone that still has their Diamond deal, Marvel still works with Diamond.
Ah,
It's for newer people. I mean, they don't like to tell you that. I mean, eventually, what I think will end up happening is that comics are probably going to move to just a trade paperback format. If you notice, like, look at the issue prices on comics, they've skyrocketed. And I'm not just talking about, you know, when comics were going up to like $4.99. You know, I've been buying comics my whole life, which, you know, that's a little bit over. Let's see, I was probably 5 when I was getting my first comics. So I watched them go from like a dollar something up to now they're what, $7.99 for certain titles?
wow.
$7.99.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, but
Yeah.
they've definitely, they're moving more to a trade paperback format, and even some books are $9.99 for a regular comic book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is some still kind of deal going on with Diamond in the shops, where the shop owners are still ordering Marvel product and everything through Diamond. So, oh, Edwin's here.
Hello.
Welcome. No less than 1,000.
No less than 1,000. I mean, people will have always spent 1,000 on a book if it's been graded. Just saying. Depending on the book. If I could get like a Hulk 181 for my dad, since he sold it when we were kids for like Pokemon cards for us, and it was $1,000, that would be a steal. I would spend it. Just saying. So people will still buy for 1,000. But yeah, so the comic industry, it's changed over 30 years. I mean, especially with the crowdfunding and everything, and even conventions have changed. Like, so
Yeah.
if you think about it, how do you feel about the changes that have occurred? Do you think they benefit newer creators, or do you think it makes it more competitive, or do you like, what do
I,
you think?
I look at it like when Image became the boom in the 90s,
Okay.
or when Fox came out on television. Like those were things that it kind of destroyed the mold. You know, back then it was just 3
Right.
channels: ABC, CBS, NBC. Then Fox came. Then we started having all these channels, and then Netflix came along. Now everybody has a streaming service. So it's the same thing. We had like major conventions. We had San Diego Comic-Con. That was pretty much it. Then we had little conventions popping up. And living in New York, it's funny because Wizard magazine was based in New York, and
Right.
they never had a convention in New York. The closest convention they had was Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And my friend, who was Hassan Godwin, he's the colorist on the book now, and he was one of the friends I met at the comic book school, was also a co-host on my show. He was always saying, we're in New York. Why can't we have a convention in New York? And they're like, there's no money in comics in New York. No money in comics ever in New York. And we had Lance Fensterman on our show back when they were starting out. And he was telling us that. He's like, man, there's nobody cares. We're trying to get a convention going, and they're not giving us any help with hotels. They're not giving any help with anything. And now here we are. Well, I think this is 16, 17 years later. They're one of the biggest conventions in the entire United States. So that also changed. And so it opens the doors for more people to have little booths and little things. And you meet so many creators throughout that time. So just the conventions changing, I think it's a good place to meet more people and get it out there. But you still need to find a way to get it to the average person. So that's where crowdfunding comes in. And thanks to the pandemic, crowdfunding for comics has had a huge boom.
Yeah.
So you think it's the pandemic is why the crowdfunding had a huge boom?
I think so, because people weren't they couldn't go to conventions. So how else are you going to sell your book? You got to go to crowdfunding.
Yeah. The way I see it, it's like there's no life without change. Things are I guarantee things are going to change from what they are now. But I like where we are right now. I mean, there's lots of things that aren't great about it, but with crowdfunding is how I get my books. It's like if I get any book, it's usually through crowdfunding. I don't have a local shop. I have to go like 2 or 3 towns over to get to a comic store, or even just somewhere that sells comics. I'm out in Kentucky, so that's different than when I used to live in New York. I could walk to, a comic store. But yeah, I like crowdfunding, and I like the excitement of it, and I know, like, from a creator's standpoint, where we are right now, it's a bit nerve-wracking at times. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of pimping yourself out, but it's worth it because it's just getting the word out and letting people know about your project and showing people parts of it and getting them excited and and hopefully you finance your project, which is the goal for all of us, and and then it's up to Mark to ship it out.
Fulfillment sucks. We were dealing with it with our book. It sucks. It is not fun. I mean, you can make it fun if you have other people helping you, but it's really not fun. And inspecting for damages, you got to go through everything one by one. I'm sure I don't need to tell you. But Peter, so since you've had all of this experience working within the comic book industry, do you feel more freedom? Working on the indies, do you feel more freedom?
Yeah, I mean, I always, like, in the beginning of my career, like, the first thing I was doing was assisting my brother and Mark Torres on an issue of Ghost Rider. Because Mark had to finish a book overnight, and like I think he had half the book done, so we had to finish half a book overnight. So it was me, Jimmy, Mark, and Ken Branch, and I was just filling in blacks. It was like Jimmy called me up during the day. He was like, "You want to make some extra money?" I was like, "Sure." It was like, meet us at Marvel. We're finishing an issue of Ghost Rider. So it was like 10 minutes of being in the Marvel bullpen, and back then there was no security. It was exactly 5 o'clock, and everybody was already gone. And we were working in the Marvel bullpen, and like all the art tables they had there, like empty ones. We weren't messing up anybody's desk or whatever.
I feel like that's so awesome.
Just looking around the office, all the posters of Marvel characters and all the editors' offices and everything. You could see everything from the mill. It was really inspiring, and just looking at the pages as they flew past me of what Mark was doing on Ghost Rider, was amazing. And he was just chugging coffee and donuts and just like penciling a figure here, then tossing it to Jimmy, and Jimmy was inking backgrounds and figures, and Ken was inking backgrounds. I was inking, filling in the blacks, and it was just insane. It was like we were there for 3 hours or whatever, and we finished the book, and it was amazing. And I was hooked ever since. So, what was the question?
No. You're pretty much. I was just asking, like, if you felt like you had more freedom or anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
like now,
with all the experience, because you've worked for so many different. You worked everywhere. It seems
independent publishers, like self-publishers, like small publishers, because I had more of a personal attachment to it. Like, because, like I worked from all in DC, and it's pretty much like it's guaranteed paycheck. That there's no question about that. Like, they give you work, you'll get paid, no problem. There's small chance like it might not be published. I've done some work for them that wasn't published, but
that must suck.
But you're always guaranteed a paycheck. Unlike you're working for a small independent, and it's like, I don't know if I have the money. It's like sometimes, but yeah, I always like making a personal connection to the person and their project, and assisting if they want my assist in how to make it better or whatever. Like I've done more than just inking behind the scenes and whatnot and stuff I've got credited for, but I don't care. As long as it makes the project better, then by all means, You're
just doing whatever you can, Peter. That's what I take from that. Whatever you can do.
I like that ground floor, garage level, whatever, like, working on these books and making it happen. It's thrilling.
Do both of you feel more like creatively free, doing your own thing, being in control of things? Like, I know I would. Yeah. So I'm taking over your show.
That's right. Hey, what happened here today? I know that with retro, it's like I got many stories I want to tell with it and direct the path of how it goes. And while I may get feedback and fans, like giving me their take on what I could do or what characters to throw in there or what, genre or whatever, I'm going to take it like Stephen King writes a book, like without interference. Like I'm just doing it on my own, like, because I want to write the book I want to read, and so I'm really not looking for interference.
So what was it about Mark's script in particular when he presented it to you 30 years ago that oh, look, people are joining in. I just noticed the bottom, because it's purple. On Death Curse, I can never see. What is up, Pops? What was it about his script that made you want to take it on? What was it? Or was it how he presented it to you?
I mean, I've mostly been an art first kind of guy, and the art did sell me on the project. But his writing impressed me, that it was, just fully fleshed out and beginning, middle, and end, and well told. At a higher level than a lot of other books I've worked on. That I won't mention.
I would take that as a huge compliment.
So, Mark, how did you come up with the idea for this?
So the idea came up once again back at the comic book school.
What comic book school was it?
It was the New York Academy of Comic Book Arts and Fantasy Illustration. It was on 410 West 410th Street between 9th and 10th Avenue. I just had that memorized for some reason.
I feel like that was like such a fun part of your life, like because you have that completely memorized like that. Probably trying as well too, but
it was one of the first times I ever went to the city on my own on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because living in New York, I was living in basically on the border of Queens and Long Island.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you live in Queens and Long Island, when people say the city, they mean Manhattan. So that's like a different world. And just going there, it's like, wow, I'm taking the train. I have to remember what stop I get off on. You take the wrong stop, you're 40 blocks off or somewhere else. Very, very stressful. So I had to remember exactly where am I going every time. I had to watch the train, make sure what stop it is.
I was from the small town of Brooklyn. That I made it to New York eventually.
So in the school,
you just, so what was it? A project you did, or
no. So I always wanted to do comics. Always born wanted to do comics. Came out the womb wanted to do comics. So when I went to the school, I was like, hey, where's the comics?
I'm picturing baby Mark coming out with like a pen and a piece of paper. I want to do comics now.
the story goes is that when I was learning to tell time, so I was I guess that's like what, second grade, third grade, right? With the clocks, I had to learn, how you tell the clock with the draw
with the
and
hands.
you had to draw in the hands. There was this book, math book, and it had a superhero on the math book, and he was flying by, and it said, "It's such and such a time, and I haven't saved anyone yet." And like so I'm like what, 9? Not even. I'm like 7, right? 6, 7 years old when you're in first, second grade, right? 6, 7, 5, 6, around that end. So so I was like, I wonder if I could draw that. And I was always a fan of comics and stuff. Like I said, I always wanted to be in comics. I didn't know what I wanted to do in comics. I wanted to draw and be in comics. So I drew that, and then I started drawing my own little comic book characters, have little rip-off characters, whatever, as kids do at that age. So then when I went to the comic book school, like, hey, we can make $2,000, make your own comic. Like, great. None of these characters I have already made are like, they're rip-offs of something I would get sued up the wazoo. I had to make a whole new idea. Made a whole new idea, and the discussion was, how do you make your comic and not get it stolen? Or how do you create, how do you control the rights? Because remember, Image had just came out, and nobody was really talking about comic book ownership and comic book rights. It was just, you went there and you just worked, and you thought that, oh, I write the story, and I'm going to be the character, and then you make the money. But it's not like that at all.
No,
you work for a company, it's work for hire. So the talk was, how do you have your own creation, which is now IP? How do you control your IP? So the discussion was, what you should do is you should make your comic that you want to make, hold that off to the side, make something secondary that you're willing to lose or give a part of your creative control of rights to get it published, to get it out there. And then when you're in the industry, you go, okay, now you've seen my work. Now look what I have over here, which is what I wanted to do. So that's where Designated came from, was the alternative side thing that I was willing to give up to get my main story out there. But because I wrote it, and I put so much effort into it, and all these years later, this story is now much more important to me than what the original stuff was that has never seen the light of day. So at the time, in the 90s, everything was crazy, and everything was to the max and out there, and everything was explosions and super mega whatever powers and death this and blow that, whatever. So I was like, let me make a story that's going to be anti whatever's happening at the time. So I decided, let me do a story about a female lead, which a female lead in the 90s, like, that doesn't really happen. It was very rare to have that. Make it a very low-key, small story with very low-key powers, and make it make sense and make things as kind of realistic as possible. So like, if something happens, this is what probably would happen if this happened. If this happened, this is what would happen if this happened. Kind of that type of thing. So that's where the idea came from. And then it was just a bunch of questions of asking myself, why does this happen? So I was like, all right, what kind of powers can I have? And I sat and I thought, it's like, okay, let me do some type of powers that are low key. So they're based on what real life experience you can have. So one character has enhanced gut. She has like a luck around her. So everybody has that little voice in your head. Everybody has it. Most of the time you don't listen to it. But hers is she listens to it. She can feel things. She has her gut that she listens to, and then good things happen to her. That's a power. It's very low key, but it has to do with the mind. And then one of the other guys was mind over matter. So you can become stronger or more endurance or faster under certain circumstances because you put your mind to it. So I'm like, okay, so now their powers are based on mind. So all the other characters had mind-based powers. And how do they get their powers? Well, there has to be something that connects them. So they have something inserted into their mind that gives them the powers. And like, okay, so who inserts the powers? Who would have the ability to do that? Aliens. Okay, so where do the aliens come from? All right, so well, there actually were supposedly aliens, because that was the big thing in the 90s. So everybody was there. The little green men were really here.
Yep.
Remember, they had the TV shows. Are they really here? Where Jonathan Frakes is like, oh, they're really aliens. So I'm like, okay, so now we have aliens. So then they're like, okay, so the aliens came in at such and such a time, 1940, whatever, right? So now the question is, why did it take them so long to do the experiments on the humans? So we need a reason for that. The reason is because he had to infiltrate the human race, and he had to work his way up to become a neurosurgeon to be able to learn about the human race to be able to perform these things. Okay, so now that makes sense. So now we need, why was he here in the first place? Well, because there was a war going on between his race and an evil race, and they were fighting over something that they used to put the powers in the people. So it was like, why this, why that? And it just kind of built around the whole
fleshing
story.
Everything out completely.
Right. For every question I had, I was like, why? And
you have to have an answer. Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that I like, and I have to pride myself, and I surprised myself, is that when we were considering doing crowdfunding, which is about, I'm going to say 2 years ago, maybe like just when the pandemic started and crowdfunding was a thing.
Yeah.
We started to consider crowdfunding. So I had to go back and I had to read the story, because the script was physical. It was typed up in my word processor. I didn't have it digitally. So I actually had to have somebody type it in and put it in the computer to send to people. So when I gave Pete the script, it was a physical script. I still have those scripts. I made a whole bunch of copies, printed out on my own.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I had to reread it to make sure that it held up. So I read it.
Did you change things?
No, because remember,
you didn't have to change anything.
It was already drawn. The book was already drawn. Okay. So my concern was that if I had to change it, I could not change it, and therefore I could not make this book a reality because I hadn't revisited it in so long. So I'm like, okay, so fingers crossed, let's read it. And I read it, and I had questions. I was like, well, why did I do that? Some of the stuff I didn't remember. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why did I do that? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And as I was reading through the entire 110 pages, all my questions were answered. I was like, holy crap. That's why I did that. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Now I understand why I did that. So it held up. And that gave me the confidence. Wow, I can still have the ability to get this out now and just say that it was set in the 90s as opposed to I wrote it 30-something years ago. So with small, slight changes, like I said, the art is done. So I can't even change that. And an inker can only do so much. Like you can't redraw a whole panel because then it won't look like the rest of the pages. So yeah. One part in the story, I'll say, she came home and she was listening to an answering machine. Like, oh, that's 90s. Nobody has cell phones. That's 90s. We had a television that was the old tube screen TV. That's 90s. Yeah. But other than that, it kind of holds up. Kind of a low key story. So that's why, which is good. I didn't have to worry about old technologies, And if you look at the pages still hold up as well. So I'm like, okay, so that was how the inception came, and that's how we came to where we are now.
We should take a look at it. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you guys of the book. Hold on. Let me share my screen here. And you guys have a trailer, correct? Yeah.
Yes. We have a trailer that
I'm going to make sure that we play
Pass Mark explains the entire thing.
We're going to play it. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm just making sure I share tab audio. We've already had enough things happen this evening. So let me make sure I don't mess this up. All right.
Everything is perfectly what it was meant to be.
That's true. That's very true. All right. My screen is sharing, correct?
All right.
And my internet is wonky, so I have to get off camera when I watch trailers or I'll cut out. I'll start pixelating and roboting. So let me stop my cam and then play this trailer for everyone. Let me make this
joy and welcome to the Designated Kickstarter promotional video. This is your narrator, as well as the creator of Designated, Mark Torres speaking. As we scroll through some pages, penciled by Jay Smith, with inks by Marvel and DC's very own Peter Palmiotti, with a cover by Babe artist Francesco, also inked by Peter Palmiotti, I will tell you a little bit about the book. Designated is a 5-issue miniseries that tells the tale of 2 warring alien races, the peace-loving Forlons and the warlike Duronians, fighting over a newly discovered power source, the Capricious Star. This war finds its way to Earth, and our 5 heroes, Natasha, Kelly, Chris, Adam, and his younger brother Ed, not only wind up caught in the middle, but each gaining powers as a result. Designated has been a passion project of mine for almost 30 years. It is a full and complete story, over a 5-part series that is, and all 110 pages have already been written and penciled. With your support, you can help us get issue 1 colored, printed, and sent directly to you. Now, what Kickstarter campaign would be complete without perks? Not this one. We have a few items, such as digital and physical copies of the book, trading cards, original artwork, and few high-end collectors out there, custom-made 5- and 6-inch clay figurines of the main characters by clay sculptor Shadow Rabbit. You can see more of his finished stuff at www.shadowrabbitart.com. As I have said countless times on my syndicated radio show, It Came From the Radio, which can be heard on both terrestrial and online radio stations, as well as on over 40 different podcast places. If you are unable to financially support this project, like and share it on your social media platforms. Maybe someone else you wouldn't even know about it will be able to help and be part of making this book a reality.
So you are at 72% of your goal as of now.
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Nice jump.
So you're almost there. You have 18 more days left on this project.
Yep.
And each book is going to be how many pages? So the first book is going to be 22
book
pages.
Is 22. Everything is 22 pages, and
Okay.
because we have the ability, like I said, the story is already written, pencils are done. Pete is actually working on the inks for issue 2 and 3 right now. We have the ability, if we make certain stretch goals, that we can give you the second book and the third book in this campaign, even the whole trade.
Oh wow!
If we get to a certain point, because if we make enough money to get the rest colored and the rest printed, we can give it all for no additional charge. So if you paid for a digital copy, and we make the whatever stretch goals we make for the other copies, you'll get issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, however much we make.
That sounds like a great deal. So people don't really have to wait long either, which that sounds awesome to me. And this is everyone that you have working on this book here?
Yes. That's the team. It's myself, Jay Smith, George Medina, Peter Palmiotti, Hassan Godwin, and actually I want to give a shout out for our graphic designer. She designed that little MSC Studios logo for us. Pete actually inked it.
I love that.
She designed this entire page of the Kickstarter campaign. She's an amazing person, graphic designer. She did things I didn't even think she could do, and she's a wonderful person, and this could not happen without her. So I want to make sure she gets that acknowledgement out there.
Oh, love that. And here's some of your colored interiors here, because we saw the inked interiors when you were in your trailer. Well, when we were looking through your trailer just now.
Right.
Who is your colorist?
That is Hassan Godwin. That is the guy, like I mentioned, he was working for Wizard, and he has his own radio show now called Secrets of the Sire. So he was on my show for many years.
Oh, wow.
He's moved on, yeah.
So was he someone that you met at a con too?
I met him at the comic book school.
At the comic book school?
Yeah, he and I became fast friends at the comic book school. And matter of fact, without him, we wouldn't have done the radio show, because we were talking. We became fast friends when we were there. And I had the opportunity to do the radio show. And I called him up. I was like, hey, you want to do a radio show with me? And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But according to him, he didn't believe that I actually meant it, because he said tons of people had told me, hey, you want to join something? He's like, yeah, sure. So when he said, yeah, sure, he really didn't mean, yeah, sure. But then when I came back to him a couple months later, I was like, all right, we're going to show up at this time. He's like, oh, crap. I guess I already committed, so now I got to do the show.
Hey, at least he followed through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have George Medina lettering here.
Yeah, George Medina, he is a comic book creator in his own right. He just funded his book, Adventures of Wonder Duck. And he also has his show, Catch the Craze, as well.
That's right.
So, Big Apple Con. When's
Yes.
Big Apple Con?
The Big Apple Con is run by Mike Carbonaro. It is the longest running convention in New York City. We are the official radio show of that. The next convention is going to be on the 17th of December is the Big Apple Christmas Con. Right now, I think the headliner is Jim Stranko. They'll have other people as we move forward. Our show is a weekly show that we do. We're on 88.1 FM WARY currently, and we're also on 40 different podcast places, and we're also on a couple of online radio stations as well. So what we do for our show is that we have a Patreon, and for $1 a month, you get a shout out on our show. So I figured, why not give them an opportunity? Just throw us $1 on here.
Yeah.
One thing I did not know about Kickstarter, because I always saw all the campaigns had the support it without pledging a reward.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you put that up there. So I didn't put that up there. So I figured I'll put something for $1 to make that. But then I realized that it was there. So it's fine.
No, I still think that's a good idea because it looks like all of these here, they're all very affordable.
Yep.
So like your special shout out on your radio, it's only $1. Your digital copy of the comic book is $3. Your physical copy of the comic book is $15, or the digital copy.
You get both together. You get both together.
Oh, you're gonna both together? Oh,
yep,
wow.
Both. You get both for $15.
And then this one here, you're getting the trading card added on to it.
Yep.
So, it's like,
and then of course for the collectors out there, we have the original artwork because it is actually a physical page that they were worked on. So you get an original randomly inserted signed page. And like I said, obviously if we hit our stretch goal for issue 2, you'll also be able to get one page from issue 2, to randomly insert it into your order.
oh, and some of the pages were the pages that you were showing in your trailer.
Correct.
Right.
And that was an important thing
awesome.
to make sure to let people know that we have the pages that they actually are done. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, is the book actually done? And you can see the pages do exist.
Unhinged said that he loves us. He loves you. He loves someone here. I don't know who he loves, but he loves somebody here.
He either loves one of us or somebody in the chat.
Probably.
We appreciate your love. We appreciate
your love. But that's a really good price for a signed random original page that you're gonna get in there with everything. Like,
Yeah.
that is people don't want to let go of their original pages.
Well, I say
Not always.
it's those pages have been around for a long time, so you can go somewhere else. I've had them for a long enough time. Just go forth somewhere else.
Let's see what else you got.
So one of the things
these are the figures. Yeah,
those are the high end, super high end. So
they remind me of like Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we have
okay.
Here, it's a custom made. This is my character Sunburst, who's the official mascot of our radio show and my first ever published character. So you get a 5-inch figure of one of the characters from the book, Natasha, Ed, Kelly, Chris, or Adam, or the big bad guy alien. Like 5 inches for them. The alien's a little bigger, so it'll be 6 inches. So you get that. Any pose you want, they are custom made. They're not painted. They're actually made out of the clay, colored clay, and then baked. So you get one like that. It'll look like that for $220. Plus you get the book.
Awesome. That's like something very unique that I haven't seen like in any campaign yet. Like clay figurines like this, and especially that you're saying like they're custom made, so someone could have them posed doing whatever they want. And he has specifically said, said, I will do whatever they want. I'm like, all right, man. I feel like he might get some really odd requests with that one.
So we actually have down there's a link to his website, so you can actually see more of his work. There you go. Share the screen. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love you.
Thank you for sharing that love.
So whatever.
That's what he said. We've had him on the show. It's a really cool guy. I've known him for I'd say about a good 5 years now.
Oh, he's asking for trouble. God bless him.
Can you do anything? He goes, I will do anything. If you pay me, I will do it. So I'm like, all right.
I
awesome.
I see that that might go wrong someplace.
And then for the super high end, we have you can get a 12-inch figure.
Yep.
Or you can get a battle diorama of all the characters. So that would be just like an example of you get the 5 characters plus the main villain in any type of scene you want, type of action scene you want, any type of scene you want, they'll do it.
Oh my god.
A whole scene with all the characters.
Yep.
Oh
Full
my
scene,
god.
full diorama, mail to you.
You know what? If someone's backing that and they get a whole scene, I have to see what scene they have made. Just depending on some of the people in this world.
Well, you know, I've talked to many a creator, many artists, and they always tell me the commissions that they have been asked to do. So I'm like, all right, as long as you pay them, all right.
Be prepared. I guess that's a good way to look at it. I mean, who really cares at the end of the day? I mean, if you're paying me to do something, I guess creatively like this, then whatever. You might as well just get it done.
Yeah.
Give the fans what they want.
And if they don't do it, somebody else will. So why not
Pretty
you?
much. Exactly. That's very true. You have a point there. I think that's super cool. And then all your add-ons, like you can add anything onto anything. How many trading cards do you have?
So we have the Natasha trading card, and we're going to be making some more. So we might add them. We'll add them in like a week or so. And then we also have like I said, my character, Sunburst, from the War of the Independents, which is the first time she was ever published in a book. I have just trading cards for that. Those are the add-ons. Sunburst was part of the War of the Independents, which is a massive independent crossover book that was done by Dave Ryan for Red Anvil Comics, which was done in the 90s or 2000s. I forget what year, around the 2000s. Yeah, the 2000s. So yes, it was my first time ever published at all. And then she also got published in the Sunburst Phaser crossover issue number 2, War of the Independents, which is out there somewhere. So that's why I put her on there. She's the mascot for our show. So we got trading cards. Like I said, we're probably going to add more trading cards of the characters as we continue on this project.
As time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have down here, as I scroll very slowly here, all your stretch goals.
The very first stretch goal.
You've hit it, correct?
No, it's, if we hit 6,200, that will be our very first stretch goal. And if we reach that, you will get 6 digital comics from various creators that I've known throughout the years. That's 202 pages of free books, PDF sent to you. And then once we hit that stretch goal, we can unleash the second stretch goal, which is issue number 2. And then if we make the stretch goal for issue number 2, we'll do issue number 3, and issue number 4, and issue number 5. So if you bought, the digital of if you've bought the $3 digital copy, and we reach the second or third tiers of the stretch goals, you will get those 6 issues. You'll get the second issue. If you get the physical, you will get the physical second issue as well.
What made you decide to do this for a stretch goal? Because this is an interesting stretch goal.
So I had to talk to a lot of people about doing Kickstarters and about crowdfunding, and I did a lot of research. And a lot of independent creators, this is something that they do. They're like, we do swaps so that way to help get the word out. So when they do their projects and my book is done, I'll be able to put my book on their campaign.
So you're all like networking together, working as a team. I love that.
Right. What is it? The rising water raises all ships.
Yes, that's very true. Then we have our creators here.
Yeah.
And that is our graphic designer, Abby. Like I said, she was an amazing help to this. She even designed that right there, all that little images and stuff. She did all that.
Did you tell Abby what she won?
Yes, I did. She could not believe it. So since Pete brought it up,
I need to know now.
When we did the launch party,
we
had I was trying to bribe people to sign up for the launch party. So throughout the time, I managed to get my hands on this thing right here, which is an unopened figurine of Hermione from Harry Potter. Unopened, so I don't know what's inside, but I've seen it online. This is worth about over $200. So we said for anybody, if we got a minimum of 10 people, their names would be entered to win that. And so then when we were doing the live stream, she was like, "Oh my God, I love Harry Potter. Can I contribute to the campaign?" I was like, "I don't care. I'll take anybody's money, sure." And so her name was entered. And then yesterday, we did this. We typed in all the names. We did the spinner, and she won. And we did it all. And the thing was, we did it all live. So I was like, because people was like, "Why don't you put the names in first?" I was like, "No, I want to do it all live so people can see me type in a name. You can see me hit the button. You can see everything." So it was completely 100% legit, and I couldn't believe it because she barely won. Because I thought somebody else was going to win, and then it went doo, 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 and then it hit her name and exploded. I was like, "Oh, there you go."
Hey, she wanted it. That's like some of that mind power that you were talking about your characters have.
Yes.
She kind of like just made it happen into existence.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool if you think about it, considering like the concept of some of the like powers of your characters within the story.
Yeah.
So you were saying that when you were working on this in the 90s, like
Yes.
having a female lead was controversial.
Yeah, because I can only name of one thing, and I don't even know if it was the right time. It was Buffy. Like, can you like back then? Maybe Buffy, Xena, maybe. Like, just having a female lead at that time was holy crap, a female lead. Back then, for a TV show or a comic, it's very rare. And then we also did the multi ethnic cast. That was something else that really wasn't a thing back then. A female lead, multi-ethnic cast, no white guy. Like, it was just, I can't believe it. So that was just my idea. Like, let's try something different. Let's go against type. And that was just things that, what else can I do? And growing up in New York, I knew a lot of racially mixed people. So it wasn't anything that was different to me. I knew a white guy, I knew a black guy, I knew an Indian guy, I knew an Asian guy. That's just what I knew. So I figured, I know these guys, and they weren't stereotypes. They were just people I knew. It wasn't that, oh, this guy was black, so he did black stuff, whatever that means. I mean, I'm the worst Hispanic person out there. I barely speak Spanish, and it's just a terrible thing. But I am. So, like, if someone said I was a Hispanic guy, I was like, well, I don't know about that. You gotta think about that for a minute. But I am Hispanic, and I do Hispanic things, I guess. But I'm just a regular person, so I was able to write those characters as if regular people that I know.
It's like I'm Italian.
You laugh so hard. I'm a human being, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
I might be an alien. Who knows?
You might be an alien in disguise that crashed in Roswell trying to infiltrate your way into the comic book world for some reason. I
might be. It very might well be the case. I can't disclose that information, however, if it was.
If I have to tell you, if I tell you,
don't need the CIA going after me. So, what are your biggest risks with this project besides funding it? Like, or should I say, not risk?
There really isn't. Like, it's written. It's the only thing is we get it. I can't think of anything if we fund. I can't think of any problems because one of the things, which is why the goal is so high, is because one of the things I learned about talking to people with Kickstarters, they're like, do not underestimate the shipping. Do not underestimate the fees. Do not underestimate the printing. Okay. And I didn't want to make it at a loss. I couldn't make this at a loss because if I could make it at a loss, I would have made this book, years ago. So I have to have the money to make the book. So that's what it's going to cost me to make the book. Another thing I've talked to many creators, and sometimes what they like to do, which I found was kind of, I didn't like it, was that they would under-establish the goal so they can make the money and then hope to make it as a stretch goal to be what they actually need to make the money. So
that's kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
If I could have said, I'll make this goal at $1,000 so I can make sure I get it funded, and then let's say I only made $2,000, like, all right, what am I gonna do now? And then I won't be able to deliver. So I wanted to make sure that I'm able to deliver, and that's why I wanted to make sure that video showed that I can have the pages. I have it; it's ready to go. We're inking. It's fully inked.
It's been ready to go.
It's been ready to go.
Ready to go.
So it's just lettering, which I got the friends and family discount for lettering, so that's no problem. He already started lettering right now. George is working on it. The inks are already done for the first issue. It's just the colors I got to pay for because that's what you got to do, and then just to go to the printer and publish it. So the only risk is if we run out of paper, there's no paper in the world, like if a meteor hits it. So what kind of risk are we talking about? The monkeypox takes out the entire printing distribution system. The ship gets stuck in the canal. I don't know. Those are the kind of risks.
Hey, you know what? Don't give anyone any ideas. People may actually use those as excuses not to do anything.
Aliens come down and steal the book.
Well, I don't remember who I was talking, what stream I was talking about it, but if you think about it, we're in such a crazy world right now that on 60 Minutes, a reputable news outlet just not too long ago said that there's aliens. They said it on 60 Minutes. The military has acknowledged that there's unidentified objects throughout the years, and nobody cares. Like, what the hell happened? This should be top news. We should talk about this all. No, it aired. They were like, "Hey, did you hear about that?" Yeah, and that was it. We kept it moving. Like, what happened? So I don't know what kind of risk.
Hey, maybe your story really is someone's life story out there. Just putting it out there.
Could be. Could be.
You might be predicting how things are going down. It's just that's why everything is taken like until this time frame for it to be now to come out, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to have some relevancy. Someone's going to read it and be like, "Oh shit, this man, he was the next Nostradamus. He predicted everything that happened."
I'm out of ideas, so I can't think of anything that can stop us. Well, I guess I get the risk is if I keel over. If I keel over, then you ain't getting the book. I'm sorry, but I'm dead. No book for you. That's it. I can't think of anything else. If we fund.
You'll fund. You have 18 days left. So are you going to do a campaign on Indiegogo afterwards?
Somebody asked me that. I was like, you know what? Let me get through this first. Let me get through this first to see how we go before I think of any other crowdfunding. So ask me that question in 11 days from now. I'll have a better answer.
Did you ever think you would be crowdfunding? Like, what was your original plan with this?
Publisher.
Going through a publisher. The publisher wanted us to do Kickstarter, and that was his idea. But that, once again, we parted ways, and we got to a point where we were so close. Yeah, we were so close to getting onto doing this, and we had an amicable split. It wasn't like, screw you. It was like, you know what? I think we should go our separate ways. It was fine. We still have a great professional relationship. Mm-hmm. We might go back with them. I don't know. But it was like, all right, so now I'm on my own. Can I do this? And so I had to ask people, and I had to talk to people. And they're like, you know what? If you had this, this, and this, you could probably do it. And the most important thing was to get that graphic designer. Without the graphic designer, none of this would have happened.
I never would have thought a graphic designer would be that important to the campaign, to be honest.
For someone who doesn't know anything about computers, yes.
I mean, that's like me. That's like me, to be honest. I know you're like, oh, well, maybe your generation. No, I'm just not technologically anything. That's why usually like Spencer runs all the streams because I can't do any of that.
Exactly.
I can't do any of it.
So let's take a simple thing. Let's go back up to the cover, to the cover that may be tweaked, according to Babe Artist Francesco. Right. So this cover, she designed that word designated up there. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. I didn't know. Really? I just saw you just put the title up there. No, you have to make a logo design for that. That's a thing that someone has to do. The placement of the names, that's the thing that someone has to do. The little graphic for the MFC Studios, that's the thing someone has to do. I didn't think of those things. And she said that she actually put the names over the boobs. That was a conscious decision on her part. That's part of being a graphic designer. And I was like, I had no idea. But these are little things you don't think of you need to do until you get to that point. And so I was like, all right, who's going to put the word on the cover? I was like, oh crap. I need someone to do that. So the graphic designer, or if you have graphic design ability, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's very
See,
good
now
to
that you
know.
see that the names are on the boobs, you're like, oh wow, it makes you go twink. That's the point.
It makes you go and look down
Yeah.
towards it. Yeah, that's actually it's very true, because now you're kind of forced to like, oh,
Yeah.
who did this? Got to look at the boobs. So
And even how the artwork, all the eyes are looking one way.
yeah,
I'm facing that same way and looking a different way. I'm looking at you. Hey, you, buy this book. That's all. That was all her. Those were all her ideas. That was all her ideas. It's crazy.
It's true when you pick it up.
Yeah. And she told me,
By
she was like,
me.
yeah, she's like, hey, I did this. I was like, holy crap. Yeah. Okay. And she's like, I picked this color because of this reason and this. And I was like, oh, I don't know any of that stuff. And then the worst part that happened is that she dropped her laptop midway through the production of all this stuff. So she had to plug it into a TV. So she lost her ability to draw stuff on her screen because the screen was cracked. So then I was like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't have it. She's like, we can work it out. And that's why Pete actually inked that MSC Studios logo.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
I think it all worked out, though.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, so when you first were presenting this around, I mean, before like this became what it is today,
Right.
did you ever get any like harsh criticism or anything? Like,
No, everyone
didn't?
who I gave the story to read it, and not just my friends and family. I gave it to professionals. And I was like, hey, I want to get this book made. And everybody who read it was like, wow, this is really good. This is good. The only constructive criticism I had, which is at one point we went, one of the publishers had an editor, and the editor just redlined all my dialogue mistakes and all that kind of things. One guy was like, hey, shouldn't they have like costumes and superhero costumes and stuff? I'm like, did you read the story? It takes place in such a small amount of time. They don't have time to go change in the costumes. Where would the costumes come from? You're asking too many questions about this story. And he's like, oh, it's not like X-Men. I'm like, no, it's not like X-Men. It's just some people who got drawn into this thing. Stuff happens, and then the book is done. So when they said, do they have costumes? I was like, what are you talking about? So that was the worst thing I ever got. Was like, how come they don't have costumes? Why don't they have a uniform?
so what would you say the genre of this book is?
Sci-fi, young adult sci-fi.
Young adult
Yeah.
sci-fi. So not even, so when they read your book, they assumed it was a superhero book because certain characters have powers and missed the point. So they didn't understand what they were reading, basically.
Right.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Thanks for everybody who showed up in the chat. Let's see. I want to go back a little bit.
Peter, are you going to do the honors here?
Well, we had somebody named Kayla show up.
Well,
now.
that's me. That's just me. I just have my bangs down.
That was alternate universe, Kayla.
It was me.
we had Pop. Well, let me go all the way back. Let me go all the way back.
Yeah,
We had
that one,
Evelyn.
yeah. I remember that one.
We had Indie.
Yeah, we said hi. And
Wrestling Aces. We had Pops.
Yeah.
The Sky, the Floof.
Hey,
I
Sky
like
the
that
Flute.
name. The floof. I like it.
Unhinged, who loves us.
Unhinged is awesome.
Abe, who I worked with on the other book that's crowdfunding, Wildcat Anthology.
Which got funded
yeah,
already.
that
Good job.
got
Well
funded.
done.
Yeah.
You're next.
Yep. We had good stuff. Welcome.
Hey, good stuff.
Welcome, good stuff.
And then lastly, we had Frequency Girl.
Hey,
So
Frequency
welcome
Girl.
one and
Frequency
all.
girl.
Yeah. Good crowd
Yeah.
tonight. Good crowd.
I know I've just taken over. It is what it is. So
We appreciate being on your channel and you interviewing us. And
It's great. Well, we're speaking for our future selves because we will be on her channel as well as this channel. So
Yeah.
hello, future people listening on
Now
the
I-
other channel.
Now
Thanks.
what I have to figure out is how to get this onto the Death Curse channel. That's the next thing. Like, I don't know
Exactly.
how I'm
See,
gonna
you
do
need an
that.
editor. See, that's what the editor is for. That's the computer guy. That's what you need. That's what I
I need
needed.
someone to edit my editing. Because I do the editing stuff for Death Curse. It's just Spencer does all the technological stuff and
the bells and whistles.
producing stuff. He does like all the producing of my segments because I am not computer savvy. I suck. And at times I really wish that I was good at it and I could have just fired up the stream and everything but it is what it is. I'm here.
Even that video, it took me forever to make that video. You don't even understand. It took me like 3 days to make that video because just trying to find how to record it because I couldn't use the web camera because the lighting wasn't right, then the positioning, and then the dialogue. I recorded that thing like 4 or 5 times, and that was the best version I got. I'm like, you know what? That's it. That's as good as it's going to get. So even then I was like, I could do a better job, but it was like, nope, that's as good as it's going to get. It's fine.
You know what? That was smart thinking. Unhinged. Have Peter download it and send it to me. Yeah. We'll do that. We will do that.
You don't know what to do with it. That's fine. You know, Spencer should know. He's
the brain behind it. I thought I was the brain and he was the beauty, but maybe it's the other way around.
He's the guy behind the curtain. Just ignore him.
The puppet master. So, have you had to change anything about this story at all? Like none of it?
No,
there's nothing you had to tweak. You really just like this is blowing my mind. So you did this 30 years ago.
So I came up with the idea. It took me a little while to fully do the 110 pages. So I wrote one issue at a time over the course of, I'd say, a year or so. So about 28 years ago, it was fully finished. Then it went to the penciler. Another 2-3 years. Then it got to the inker. So yeah, once it was done, it was done. Like the idea was, it's done. Let's get it out there. You know, you film it, you make the movie. We got to get a distributor. Got to put it in the movie theaters. And then it's like, well, no, you can't.
I want to show something. Let's see this. Okay.
Show whatever you have to show. Oh, so you have your show tour. This is everyone you're going to be on.
We have 2 more shows than are actually shown, but so we're currently on your show.
Right.
And then at 1:00, we're going to be on Jeff Lafferty's show. So 1 a.m. we'll be on Jeff Lafferty. Then on the 13th, Red Valkyrie. And later that night, Desk of a Small Publisher. Then on the 14th, Indie Comics Explained. On the 15th, which is not here, will be on Marsh Makes Comics. 16th, Nerds of the Round. 17th, Secrets of Desire.
Which is Hassan's show.
With our buddy. Then later, Catch the Craze. And
Which
then
is George's show.
18th is Joshua Kimball. You know, I had Scott Circlin, who is part of the Artcasters. The other part of Artcast is Joshua Kimball. Now, Scott wanted to get us both on Artcasters, but I guess because we're going to be with Josh, that counts as being on the Artcasters. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We might be on an extra episode as well. Okay. But so we'll be on Joshua on the 18th. Comic Book Network, Madness Network, Comic Madness Network with Pops on the 19th. Then the 24th, got 2 shows, Indie Comics Relay and Dojo Kun Comics. Yep. So
your whole schedule is packed. You're basically doing a stream pretty much every day.
Just about. Plus, I'll be streaming on my channel. You know, hopefully doing some art soon. Yeah.
Doing some more inking, or are you doing like original pieces, or what are you doing?
Well, I got a retro piece that's going to be on my back cover of my book. that I want to finish up. I got another piece by Chris Graves of Pitt that I want to get back to. But I'll probably be doing some fan art coming up to get more eyes on my channel and to do more original artwork and possibly sell that stuff. So gotta bring in the money as we crowdfund.
And if we fund, he's going to be working on more pages of the book. Issue 4, issue 5.
That's right.
There you go. So is this story over after all of your issues, or are you going to continue to write on with it?
I left it open-ended.
Okay.
So it has an open ending, but it's beginning, middle, end, full story. If anything happens after, if it never sees the light of day, you got the full story. The idea is in my head. It's been sitting there for 20-something years, but I never actually wrote anything down. I was like, all right, what would happen afterwards? And then it's just, once again, that whole process of what would happen, why it would happen, how it would happen, and then I just start the whole ball rolling again. If I do it, it would probably be another 5 issues. Do
you think if you got funded, that would motivate you to get that done?
Oh yeah,
definitely.
If it gets funded, like let's make the
you have
second
so
one,
many shows you're going on, you will end up getting funded.
I hope so. My fingers are crossed.
You're
like I
so
said,
close.
This is the closest that we've ever come in 30 years to having my dream become reality. That's saying something.
That does. That says a lot.
We're right there. We're at the last leg of the race.
Is that where we are? Or you want to refresh the page? I don't know.
Yeah, let me refresh.
I thought you were asking me if that where we are, the last leg of the race. Like, yeah, we're at the last leg.
Yep, that's where you are.
Okay. So
that's exactly where you are.
So, yeah, we moved today.
4,425.
We moved in the right direction today.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome.
I don't think there is a wrong direction that you can go because you can only go up from here. It's not like you're going to lose funds.
We've had adjustments that take us down. Just saying, and I've spoken to other people that they do have. Sometimes they go down and go up and go down.
Yeah, and it is Kickstarter. It's always like when it's finished funding, then it's everybody's got to get in their payment, and sometimes people don't get it in on time.
That's the one thing that's different about Kickstarter than Indiegogo. I will say, it's
you get the money right away.
Yeah, with Indiegogo, you do get the money right away.
Yeah. So we won't celebrate until we actually are at the day. And we have way over the goal to make up for any discrepancies. Then I'll be like, woohoo! Otherwise, I'm like, let's just see what happens.
What advice would you give to anybody that's starting out? I think that before we close out, pretty much because we've been here for an hour and something. You have another stream too to do at 1. You guys are crazy. 1 o'clock in the morning, going to do a stream. The only thing I don't like about Kickstarter is the backer kit and the money coming out later than when I back.
Right.
Yep. That's confusing for me, to be honest.
Because sometimes if you have the money today, you may have it next week. So
automatically take it out of your bank account and set you negative.
Yeah. So
Jesus, Kickstarter.
I think maybe they can do like a hold. I think a hold would be
more appropriate.
Like when you go to a hotel or something, you put a hold. That way it's not being spent, but you can't use it. And then you can decide what to do as you move along. But that's just me.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense, actually. To logical people But before we close out, what advice would you give to anyone that is starting out creating a comic book?
My advice is to make sure you write for yourself and that you enjoy what you write. And the second thing is never, ever, 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 ever give up.
I love that. What about you, Peter?
Don't do it. No.
We've had people on the show I've asked that many times, just join the army, just don't even bother, just do something else. We've had many answers, so yeah.
No, I mean, I love this business, and it's not easy. I would say, go equally into your creativity as well as the business end of the things. because if you fail on the business side, you're going to fail on the creative side.
All right. I think that ends Kayla Cuts Deep this evening. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for letting me take over your channel. I appreciate that. And
My pleasure.
I will be backing this. And I wish you the best of luck on this campaign. It's 30 years in the making. So yeah, everyone get out and back Designated. If you're not going to back it, then retweet it, share it out to everyone. And thank you all for everyone for joining. And thank you guys for letting me interview you. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and have a great time in Hawaii.
Oh, I will.
Don't get sacrificed to a volcano.
I'm gonna go swimming with sharks. So if anything, I'm coming back with a gun leg. I've already decided.
Oh, Jesus. All right, everybody. Like Unhinged says, have a great night, and we'll see you again
Have a great night.
soon.
Bye, guys.